Hello dear viewers, a very warm welcome to Jamuna Television. I am your host Ahmed Reza, extending hearty greetings to all of you on behalf of Jamuna Television. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special edition dedicated to World Tourism Day. We are celebrating the incredible world of travel, culture and the countless stories that unite us as global citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a fantastic lineup of guests who will share their insights. So sit back and let's embark on this journey together. Happy World Tourism Day. So I'm delighted to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Brent Spanier, Deputy Head of Delegation, Dhaka, European Union. And also we have Asha Bey, Acting Information Officer, US Embassy, Dhaka.
Thank you, Dhanapad.
And ladies and gentlemen, also we have Dan Pasha, Director of Trade and Investment, UK High Commission, Dhaka. Welcome to Jamuna Television.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we have lots of questions to ask to all of you, but at the very beginning, I would like to ask in Bangla. Kemon achen, Asha?
Bhalo achi.
Okay. What about Brent? How are you?
Bhalo achi.
And what about Dan?
Ami bhalo achi.
আপনি ভালো আছেন আপনাকে আমাদের মাঝে পেয়ে আমাদের ভালো লাগছে
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So we'll discuss about more basically tourism issues. So at the very beginning, Asha, I would like to know from you that it's about the tourism collaboration, or if we can talk about the tourism diplomacy. So at the very beginning, I want to know from you, how can Bangladesh and the US enhance tourism collaboration? Are there any specific initiatives to promote Bangladesh as a travel destination for American travelers or tourists?
Yes, I definitely think there are. We can enhance tourism collaboration between Bangladesh and the United States by exploring several promising initiatives, and I'm going to talk about some of those today. At the US Embassy in Dhaka, for example, we are focusing on promoting US tourism, but we're also looking to build a dynamic partnership with the Ministry of Civil Aviation and Tourism in Bangladesh. One thing that I think we can do is launch joint campaigns that link Bangladesh's stunning destinations like Cox's Bazar and the Sundarbans.
Yeah.
And because we have similar sites in the US, like the Florida Everglades and California's Big Sur. And there's also cultural exchange programs and travel fairs and inviting American tour operators here to see how things work, and then they can bring those steps back to the U.S. and also inviting influencers. Okay. You can invite influencers here firsthand to see the sights of Bangladesh, and then they can publish it on their social media platform.
Right.
Yes, and then it spreads the word.
That's a very different idea, and if you can, implement, that will be very great for both of the countries, like US and Bangladesh as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
I do have one more thing, not to interrupt you, but it's also Bangladesh taking steps like simplifying the visa processes and enhancing flight connectivity. Though that's another way to encourage tourism.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Of course, it's an insightful speech from you indeed. Thank you so much for sharing us. Brent, I would like to know from you. It's about the promoting tourism. So, what potential do you see for Bangladesh to become a more popular destination for European tourists? Are there any EU-Bangladesh initiatives to promote tourism?
Yeah, I think if you look at Bangladesh from a European point of view, I think it's a destination that's very exotic. I think it's a destination for an out of extraordinary experience. It's for people who like adventurous tours. So, and thinking, if you imagine yourself in a restaurant with friends and you talk about your holiday plans, and people go to Thailand, well, everybody's gone to Thailand. If you say, well, my holiday is going to be in Bangladesh, you have all the attention, because hardly anyone has ever been to Bangladesh. So then if you look at your neighboring country, Nepal, I looked it up, they have almost 1 million visitors per year, foreign visitors, and mostly adventurous people who do the trekking. If you make it easy for them to hop over to Bangladesh, you know, the distance is very small.
Yeah.
Make it easy for them in an offer to experience this country, because I think you have many people who would like to have that additional experience of coming to Bangladesh. So working with your neighboring countries, make it easy in terms also of, you know, obtaining visa on arrival, which has been quite cumbersome in the past. Have an e-visa, make it quick, and advertise it in the region. There hasn't been a formal EU-Bangladesh initiative to push tourism, but I think we ought to look into this, because we want Bangladesh to diversify in many different business sectors. So we're going to launch very soon a European Chamber of Commerce here. And I think that would be boosting tourism, one of the areas where the Chamber could be very active.
Ah, that's great. So you have different plans, though you didn't apply here in Bangladesh, but you have opportunities to do more things with Bangladeshi tourists or the Bangladeshi government.
Yeah, as I said, I think Bangladesh is a good thing to market this sort of niche in Europe as a destination.
Yeah.
And then from that on, you can develop, I think, to a broader range of touristic options. As been said, I mean, you have some fantastic sites. You have the Sundarbans, the biggest mangrove forest in the world.
Right.
You have Cox's Bazar. I think it's the longest beach in the world.
Yeah.
And of course, I myself have been, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Rangamati in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, a lovely area. And but you know, again, you have to make it easy. You have to market it in the proper way, also using influencers, and put Bangladesh on the map of the European traveler.
That's great. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to know from you, Dan, about the same issues about the promoting tourism. So, what role do you see the UK playing in promoting tourism between Bangladesh and the UK, particularly in terms of trade and investment opportunities here in the tourism sector?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I completely agree with what Asha and Bernd have said. You know, it's important for Bangladesh to diversify. I think there is an exciting opportunity for Bangladesh to highlight its tourism offer. I think Bangladesh does domestic tourism well. You know, Bernd just talked about Cox's Bazar, which I would agree is a great place, but you know, when I've been there, it's been a lot of domestic tourism that's been taking place. So it can do obviously much better in trying to promote Bangladesh. I think for the UK, I mean, there is a, you know, the UK and Bangladesh relationship is famous, man.
Yeah.
It's deep, it's rich, it's, you know, a link to the people-to-people links that we have. And I would say central to that relationship, certainly for the UK, is food. And you know, the culinary excellence of Bangladesh is always going to appeal to UK tourists and travellers who come to Bangladesh. And you know, as we like to say quite infamously in the UK, you know, 90% of curry houses in the UK are owned by British Bangladeshis. So you know, there's a central theme in that relationship. I suppose from a trade and investment perspective, for me, the new airport provides a huge opportunity to spearhead Bangladesh into becoming this, you know, very welcoming and friendly country. I think that's really important to try and, for international tourists, you know, an airport is normally it is the first port where, you know, people will get a feel of the country and understand what the country's like. So I think the new airport will hopefully provide that, and I'm proud and hopeful that, you know, with increased capacity in the airport and hopefully more flights into the UK will deliver, you know, more British tourists and travellers into Bangladesh. And I'm incredibly proud that there are British companies that will play their part in making sure that there is a more smooth operation in the airport than the one those current travellers currently face in Bangladesh.
Yeah, we are hoping something about good. Thank you so much for your insights. And Asha, I would like to know from you once again, as you mentioned about the different things, about the cultural ties, about the people-to-people connectivity. So regarding that perspective, I would like to know from you about the cultural exchanges. So how do you see US-Bangladesh cultural exchanges such as student exchange or the heritage tourism and strengthening bilateral ties? So do you have any comments regarding that?
Yes, so yeah, we offer several student and professional exchange programs, and actually we send over 100 people on exchange programs every year. And we launched a new program that is, and Bangladesh is going to be part of that. it was just launched at UNGA, the Young South Asian Leaders Initiative Program, or YSALI as we're calling it. And that's, these are the types of ways that we strengthen our ties, between our two countries, our people-to-people ties. One of our flagship programs, for example, Fulbright. We have one of the alumna. She's working in travel and tourism at Dhaka University.
Yeah.
And so these exchange programs, they help equip people with skills that they use forever in their professional lives. And also, these skills also help them enhance their careers as well. So, and then you're speaking about heritage tourism.
Yeah.
We have, we have the Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation. That's one way we've helped Bangladesh with its sites such as Lal Bak Fort, and making that a better destination for people to go and visit. And then the other thing is, when we have people coming on exchange programs to Bangladesh, American citizens, they then go back to America and then they become cultural ambassadors for Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And they also, they usually keep up with the people that they've met here. So these are just ways that we foster dialogue between our two countries.
That's great. There are many things are ongoing between US and Bangladesh. And so what about the US? Just I would like to know about the economic ties. Regarding that perspective, I would like to know that how can the EU and Bangladesh strengthen their economic ties through tourism sector? Are there any plans to support tourism infrastructure development in Bangladesh, particularly for attracting European tourists?
Yeah, I mean, we have strong economic ties. I think
Yes.
The European Union is the biggest export market for Bangladesh. I mean, that's one point. But talking about infrastructure, we do support a lot of infrastructure development in Bangladesh via our program we call the Global Gateway. And some of it is, for instance, cross-border train connection with India. I mean, make it easier for Indians to come into Bangladesh, but also digital infrastructure. To give an example, we have a project where we want to have, we call it digital islands. So if you have the remote areas, like in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, bring fast, high-speed internet to those areas, which of course makes it attractive to or easier for tourists to use their Google Maps or whatever the services they have in these areas, but also gives these areas a better chance of marketing their tourism facilities, also accommodation and so on. So I would say these are the two big things: transport infrastructure, digital infrastructure, that can play a key role in boosting the tourism in those areas.
Yeah, great. So from Dan, I just would like to know from you that about the tourism appeal, and how can Bangladesh strengthen its tourism appeal to UK travelers, and what type of tourism, like cultural, ecotourism and adventure, of course.
Yeah.
So do you believe or hold the most potential and it will be happen here in Bangladesh?
Yeah, so I asked a Bangladeshi friend yesterday, last night, just this very question. I was like, what do you think Bangladesh has to offer to the world as a tourist, attraction? And he was very wholesome. He said, there is a home for any type of traveller in Bangladesh, and it goes back to what Bernd was saying. Actually, the Nepal example is a great one. I know there are lots of British holiday makers who go to Nepal to see the scenery, the greenery of Nepal. But the question I would say back to Bangladesh is why isn't Bangladesh the tourist destination? So I think, as I say, across South Asia, British holiday makers are making the most of the natural beauty of South Asia, and it will always be an attractive proposition. But Bangladesh, as you rightly say, has a lot to offer as well, both in the cultural space, in the ecotourism space, and in also the adventurous space as well. I think for me, my 2.5 years in Bangladesh so far, the stunning scenery in Sylhet, the bustle of Cox's Bazar, and personally, I would also, I like Cox's. I would say Inani Beach is much more my vibe. Okay. Very quiet, very beautiful. And then the calmness of the Sundarbans as well. It's just a few of the places that Bangladesh has to offer. And I think, like most places, I completely agree with Asha. She kind of stole my idea when she said it right at the start. But, Bangladesh really needs to market itself, a tourism marketing campaign. That's what it needs to do to really highlight the, the beautiful wonders of Bangladesh and its rich history. And, the UK and the British High Commission in Dhaka is very happy to help Bangladesh, in that regard as well, and to achieve that.
In addition, I would like to know one more thing, that what about the people of Bangladesh?
What about the people of Bangladesh? I mean, well, yes, actually, I can see where that question's going, and I know Bernd is going to come in and Ash is going to come in. The best thing about Bangladesh, and this is without a doubt, we, in the diplomatic community, we have the privilege of coming to, going to countries and calling it home for a few years. Yeah, every single person that leaves Bangladesh, the thing that they miss the most is the hospitality and the kindness of the Bangladeshi people. And that is without a doubt, it's very hard to market. It's very hard to, put it into a bottle and sell to the world. But the more Bangladesh can talk about it, the better it will be. And that's where you're going to get more tourists coming in. I have to say, but I've always said this, Bangladeshis are some of the most kindest people on planet Earth.
Yes, and
let me come in on that too. Huh? I mean, what I find amazing when you come to Bangladesh, and the fact is there are hardly any tourists in Bangladesh. So, and this is a unique experience. If you go to any market, let's say in Dhaka or elsewhere, you are being. People love you just for being there, and the experience I had talking to shopkeepers who are so happy to show me their produce and other things is something, I was in backpacking, traveling the world, I think 10 years ago, but I've never seen anything like it. And that is an experience in itself. And, Bangladeshi people's friendliness is second to none, really.
Yeah, would you like to add something, Asha?
Well, I was going to say I'd echo all these comments, especially Dan's, because that is actually what I was just talking about with someone on the way here is about how, just how kind and welcoming the Bangladeshi people are. And that is one thing that I've noticed. I've traveled all around the world, and this is one place where everyone is very nice.
Yeah, of course, they're more friendly, they're more amiable, and I'm proud of Bangladeshi.
Good.
Thank you so much for your insightful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just heard some fascinating insights on how tourism is evolving to become more sustainable and impactful. But there's so much more to explore. After the break, we'll dive deeper into the issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more on this special edition World Tourism Day. Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again. And we had a very insightful discussion with our guest of honor. And just Dan Pasha, I would like to know from you that it's about the investors, UK investors, basically. So, with the global emphasis on sustainable tourism, how can Bangladesh attract UK investors to develop eco-friendly tourism infrastructure in Bangladesh key destination?
Yeah, I might take that question at a more macro level as well. So I think you're absolutely right. Eco and green credentials are really important. But I was quite looking forward to answering this question. I think it's really important as Bangladesh gets ready for LDC graduation in the future, and as it becomes even more outward looking and outward facing to the world, it will need to ensure that the international business community understands that Bangladesh is open for business. So we know that foreign direct investment, particularly now at this very crucial time in Bangladesh's history, is incredibly important to Bangladesh as it builds the foundation to create jobs, transfer skills, generate revenue, create competition, and drive standards higher. So a more conducive business environment and removal of some market access barriers, mutual market access barriers, would benefit both of our countries and assure certainty. And that's something that businesses always say to me, that's what they need. They need certainty from Bangladesh. Now, the British High Commission in Dhaka is very ready to work with Bangladesh to address these market access issues and to invite the British private sector to come to Bangladesh. Now that's my job. I speak to British companies every day. Sadly, when I talk about the great things about Bangladesh, I also have to talk about some of the more challenging things about Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a very strong story to tell on eco-credentials, something I know that the UK, and I speak for my EU and US friends here, we all have learnt from. But there's a way to capture that and to basically try and invite the private sector to come and you know, really make the most of those opportunities.
Oh, great! Just thankful to you that that UK is having or doing a lot of things. So, what about the EU position? Just I would like to know the EU work with Bangladeshi people or Bangladeshi government. The EU has a rich history of supporting cultural preservation, so far I know. And how can the EU work with Bangladesh to preserve its cultural heritage and promote to international tourists?
Yeah, we already do. In fact, we have had a number of projects with the European Cultural Institutes here in Dhaka, but also outside Dhaka. For instance, preserving old houses in Old Dhaka. As you know, for anyone who's done a tour in Old Dhaka, you have some fantastic houses that are a bit under danger to become, you know, replaced by other investments. And as EU, we have, you know, put some funds in preserving some of them, the most beautiful ones, and also having preserving the heritage of we call it river heritage, all the culture that's surrounding the Buriganga River and the fishermen and their culture. And just to add on that, I think an interesting new development we're seeing in terms of culture is the graffiti that popped up after the student revolution, and that made headlines that I think Professor Yunus said Dhaka is now the graffiti capital of the world, and I think that many people would like to see this because Dhaka also has a good reputation as a city of art and photography. So maybe in a more systematic way we can find a way of preserving these graffitis because they're also becoming a historic landmark of what's happened in 2024.
Yeah, that's great. Asha, just I would like to know about the climate change challenges, I should say, and though we are basically used to talk about the impact issues, but regarding that perspective, just I would like to know from you that with growing concern about climate change, how can the US collaborate with Bangladesh to promote sustainable tourism and eco-friendly practices?
I'm glad you asked that, Reza.
Yeah.
So yes, we think that the U.S. can collaborate with Bangladesh to promote more eco-friendly tourism, and also we're actually USAID is already supporting the government with local communities and the private sector to develop sustainable tourism frameworks that prioritize environmental protection. And these include creating guidelines for tour operators that are focused on minimizing waste and conserving resources, but also promoting ecotourism is key. Because when you are dealing with the effects of climate change, and if you don't manage tourism properly, then that can exacerbate the climate change effects.
Yes.
So, you know, one of the ways that we've been thinking about this is, you know, highlighting Bangladesh's national treasures like the Sundarbans. We can attract environmentally conscious tourists and environmentally conscious tourists who are going to a place that's eco-friendly. They will feel good about visiting, and that will encourage more people to come because hopefully they will talk about their experiences and then spread the word. And also we have, you know, partnerships between US and Bangladeshi universities that can lead to more innovative ways to partner on ecotourism and develop different aspects of it.
Yeah, thank you. Dan, just I would like to know from you right now, and it's about the travel destination. Just how has the perception of Bangladesh as a travel destination evolved along with UK tourists in recent years? And what strategic steps can be taken to enhance its visibility in the UK market?
Yeah, so I think I'll give a personal example. I mean, I'm proud to see how the image of Bangladesh has changed, you know, and evolved over the years. And you're right to point that out, Reza. I think I grew up in the UK, you know, learning about Bangladesh periodically when it came in the news about a country that was regularly suffer from, you know, the effects of climate change and flooding. But you know, thanks to its incredible development story, you know, it is a country that is bustling with opportunities, with a young population at the heart of, you know, promoting a more modern and outward-looking country, as we saw from the events of the past few months. I completely agree with Asha's point right at the start about the power of social media. You know, it's incredible how social media has helped Bangladesh reach new audiences and tell its story. And again, I just need to allude to the events of the past few a couple of months to that effect. And then, you know, I've been quite lucky. As I say, I've been here for 2.5 years, and I've made many friends in this country who have come from and showcase an exciting creative industry scene. And I'm pleased that Bernd mentioned the art scene. You know, whether that's from classical or contemporary dance to a vibrant music scene, to this quite spectacular, actually, fashion scene as well. You know, British travellers should come and see this side of Bangladesh for themselves. At a government level, I completely agree with Asha, the point that she made earlier. Bangladesh should make it easier. You know, I've had in my time here, I've had friends flying from the US, from the UK, to come and visit me here in Bangladesh, but they've had unfortunately arduous experiences at the airport, which I spoke about earlier. You know, when they're applying for visas on arrival, for example. And that's one good news story. You know, in my time here, when I first came to Bangladesh, it was impossible to get visas on arrival, and now Bangladesh allows that. So that's a good positive story. But to make the experience smoother and slightly, to be quite frank, welcoming would help Bangladesh.
But do you have any specific suggestion to make it easier?
Yeah, so from a UK government perspective, I can say, and I'm going to throw in the EU and the US here as well. It doesn't cost anything to you know, speak to us and to hear from us about how we do it in our countries, and what we can do to help. And I genuinely believe it's training more than you know, throwing money in or buying a product or a service and so on. So you know, there are things that we can do. The UK is very ready to help play its part in talking to Bangladesh. And I should add, it would be remiss of me not to say that, you know, we have a very close relationship with the authorities, the Civil Aviation Authority, you know, with our Department for Transport and Aviation Security and so on. But it's just those little things that would make Bangladesh even more of an appealing story. It has a great story to tell. You know, I really want more British travellers to come out to Bangladesh.
Okay. Great, and great to know from you such things, and that as you mentioned that you have many more things to collaborate with Bangladesh. And
then the final point I'll just make is my job is to hear from you guys, so to hear from Bangladesh about what more we could do to get British travellers out. So please get in touch with the British High Commission. We'll be very keen to hear.
And it's our duty to what more we can achieve from you as well. So, Bernd, just I want to know from you, it's about the tourism practices. You know that sustainable tourism is a global priority. So, regarding that perspective, how can the EU assist Bangladesh in developing responsible tourism practices, especially in environmentally sensitive regions like the Sundarbans and the Chittagong hill tracts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think we learned our lesson in Europe on sustainable tourism. As you know, there are places in Europe that are totally overrun. I mean, cities like Barcelona or Venice, they suffer just from too many people that come every year. Now, this is maybe not the problem you're facing here in Bangladesh, although I mean, my experience traveling to the Chittagong hill tracts and Rangamati, we went to a really remote area, absolutely beautiful, but you could already see that, you know, if you had a higher number of people, you just don't want to see plastic bags along the wayside or other things. And, you know, and unfortunately you see that in many places in Bangladesh. Now, how can you achieve that this is being taken care of? I mean, I think it's key to involve as many of the local and enterprises and micro enterprises, we even call them, to take part in this tourism. Don't leave it to a big sort of chain that you know, places a big hotel there, but have the community being involved. Another practice we have in Europe, I mean, there is a so-called eco-label that you would award to a camping site or to a hotel that does the proper waste management, that does the proper you know, water purification and other things. And these are like easy to do things, voluntary label. You could award that to local entrepreneurs doing this, and that way you could attract people who pay attention to these things.
Thank you for your insights. So Asha, just I would like to know, or I would like to share your message for the US citizens that probably you will advise them to come to here. So regarding that perspective, what advice would you give to US citizens planning to visit Bangladesh especially? How can American tourists contribute positively to Bangladesh tourism sector and local communities?
Okay, so well, the first thing I would suggest is go to travel.state.gov. That is our travel web. That's our U.S. Department of State's website for travelers who are going abroad. They can check out different countries, see if there's any travel alerts for there. They can also enroll in our STEP program, which is the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program.
Okay.
Which will give people alerts if is there any danger in a country, and I mean, basically safety should be your first priority. So that's one thing that I would suggest to U.S. citizens, and just also be aware of any restrictions in the country, but also think about the norms and the culture of where you're going to. If you're going to a place where people don't usually wear shorts, then don't wear shorts. Things like little things like that show respect to the place that you're visiting, and so I think that's very important for travelers to do. Also, I'd recommend sampling some of the local cuisine. Not just going to the American chain. Although obviously I think it's important to go to American chains as well. But for example, when we went to Stephen, that's the public affairs counselor, and I went to Chittagong. We sampled some of the mezban and kalabuna. We went to a local restaurant there, and it's a famous local restaurant, and with good reason. Their food is delicious. We actually have a food diplomacy video about that.
Bamboo chicken, huh?
I have a question regarding the Bangladeshi food as well.
No, I haven't tried that, but...
Asha, I have a question regarding the Bangladeshi food and how it is, and I have a question to you as well. So,
ask me, yes.
Prepare yourself, and I have many things to know from you as well, but I have to take a break. Do you want to add more, something?
Oh, sure. Just, I also have Stephen also did a Star Kebab tour. So that's coming out, that video is coming out, so stay tuned.
Okay, great. And I have been, as I've said to you, that I have many more things to know from you, but before that I have to take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, what an exciting conversation so far. We have uncovered some amazing ideas about the future of tourism and how it's shaping both people and the planet. But the journey isn't over yet. Coming up after the break, stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Jamuna Television. And before the break, we had a very insightful discussion with our guest of honor. And now, I just would like to know from Ben Spanier, and it's about the visa facilitation. So, are there any ongoing discussion regarding the visa facilitation to encourage more Bangladeshi tourists to visit the EU, and vice versa, it should be definitely from Bangladesh to EU or European countries, and from European countries to Bangladesh. What are the key challenges that need to be addressed?
Well, thank you for the question, but in fact I'm the wrong person to ask, because the EU has no competence in providing visa. So good opportunity to clear up this misunderstanding. So you will have to talk to the EU member states individually. But let me say that on the other side, and Dan said it before, make it easy for Europeans to obtain a visa, let's say, for instance, an electronic visa. And to do that, I mean, you might want to talk to your, closest neighbors. I travel to Nepal, I get a very quick visa on arrival. I travel to Sri Lanka, I get a very quick visa on arrival. I travel to India, I can do this online, and I will have it within the next, I think, put an application within 5 hours. So if you can adopt some of these practices, that definitely will change the game for people who decide, maybe spontaneously, to hop over to Bangladesh and visit the beautiful country.
Thank you. That's good enough. And just I would like to know from Asha, as you talked about the Bangladeshi food, so I'm very eager to know about that issues that you have experienced a lot of food here in Bangladesh. So you have experienced various places as well in Bangladesh and enjoyed local food. As you mentioned that from Chittagong you have tasted Kala Bhuna, Mizban, and also you have a different videos with Fuchka. Yes. So there are many things. So how would you describe that experience? What type of food would you recommend to international travelers visiting Bangladesh?
Oh, well, I definitely recommend all three of those, the Kala Bhuna, the Mezban, and the Fuchka. All of those. Also, I'd recommend biryani. There's, biryani. You know, I think Bangladesh is famous for its biryani. Yep. And I would also recommend coming during mango season. That is, I think, my absolute favorite. I've always loved mangoes, but it wasn't until I got to Bangladesh that I felt like, wow, these are the best mangoes that I've ever tasted. Okay. Yes.
So, Dan, would you like to add something here?
Yeah.
About the Bangladeshi food?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably the wrong person because I have a very low spice tolerance, and Bangladesh has tried to change it, but I've not been as successful. But yeah, kachi biryani for me is probably just divine, and I think so aromatic and something that, you know, all people who come to Bangladesh should try. I completely agree with Asha. I'm a mango fan. You know, it is the best in the world, the sweetest mangoes, and I know mango diplomacy is a big thing for Bangladesh. So yeah, I would definitely say that, and it would be remiss of me not to say let out a diplomatic secret about the British High Commission in Dhaka. There's a huge consumption of like shingaras that take place every week. So shingaras are also quite a popular choice, and certainly something that I've got used to.
Oh, well, what about your experience, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with both my colleagues, but let's not forget the fantastic sweets. Yes. And then on top of it, the coffee culture. I mean, I personally have been a big fan of North End coffee, and I'm sorry, who needs Starbucks if you have North End? I have it every morning. And, you know, this has been something I didn't expect, but I've really come to like the cakes, the sweets, the coffee.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for hearing such interesting things. But I would like to know about any memories, what you have here in Bangladesh, and memorable memories with people, with place. Asha?
Oh, I'd say one of the memories is going to like a Sangeet and some of the weddings here. Okay. It's just such a celebration. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the dancing and just everybody's happy, and it's also just so colorful.
Yeah. Of course it is. Ben, do you have any?
Yes, in fact, and that might be a tourist attraction itself. When my mom and my sister came visiting Bangladesh earlier this year, we visited a garment factory. Okay. And as you know, Bangladesh has some of the most modern garment factories in the world. And to see that live is something that's, you know, very, very impressive. And I don't think you see that in many other places in the world, if any.
Well done.
Yeah, when my family and friends visited, I didn't do what Bernd did. I didn't take them to work. That sounds like a work trip if ever there was one. No, when my friends and family have visited, I think for me, I said this. You know, Dhaka is a great city and is bustling, and I'm a city boy at heart. I'm, you know, a born and bred Londoner. But sometimes Dhaka can get really, you know, suffocating at times. And I think lots of folks from Dhaka will probably resonate with that. So for me, the first time I fell in love with Bangladesh was, without a doubt, when I went to Cox's. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Inani Beach as well. And I think the natural beauty of Bangladesh is just incredible. And I genuinely want, certainly people from the UK, but around the world, to come and experience that. Tie that in with the, as we said, the great food, and then the most amazing and kindest people. Yeah, there's lots of special memories that I'll take away with me when I leave next year.
Oh, of course. So, but you mentioned in your speech a lot of things about, you mentioned, especially you mentioned about the mango diplomacy, which was interesting and captivating, of course. But except this thing, you know that so far I know that you are very good in sports diplomacy. So regarding that perspective, what initiative do you have to collaborate with Bangladeshi people or Bangladeshi culture or Bangladeshi sports?
So I didn't realise we were going to do a performance appraisal, but one of the things I've really failed on is bringing my beloved Manchester Manchester United to Bangladesh. I would love to see them come to Bangladesh.
Great, that would be great.
And it would be wrong of me not to mention the biggest sport in Bangladesh, cricket. You know, we were really proud to see the England team come out last year. And we were obviously disappointed that the Women's World Cup was moved from Bangladesh this month. So there's definitely a lot that we can do on sports diplomacy. Tennis is something that is growing. I'm a massive tennis fan. I would love to see Bangladesh have more accessible tennis courts for people to pick up as well. And there's obviously something that with the oldest lawn tennis club in the world in Wimbledon, there's, I'm sure, stuff that we can do. But these are you know, very exciting things, but we also need Bangladesh to show that appetite as well.
Yeah, Dan, thank you so much for your insightful remarks, and it's about
no, I have to come in too, on the sports.
Yes, you are a sports lover as well. So it's my last question to you, Dan. Do you have any specific message for Bangladeshi people or regarding tourism issues? So if you have, so you can use this.
Yes. Well, I would just say showcase Bangladesh. You know, we talked about the power of social media. I think given the events of the past few months, Bangladesh has gone up on the radar of so many people around the world. I spoke to a colleague in South America during the height of the issues that were going on in the past few months, and the first thing they said to me was, "Oh, what's happening? Is everything okay in Bangladesh? How is Bangladesh recovering?" And to me, I was surprised that in deep South America, you know, Bangladesh was on the news. So for me, that's an opportunity, and you know, I would say to all Bangladeshis, showcase your amazing country, showcase that amazing hospitality and kindness that the Bangladeshi people have, and then encourage people to come here, and I'm sure they will come in their droves.
Thank you so much. I just like the way you talked about with the people. Thank you so much. So Asha, do you have any message for Bangladeshi people or the travelers of Bangladesh or regarding the tourism issues?
I mean, I would echo some of what Dan said, but also, you know, think.
Can use this camera.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Think about what are the things that you love about Bangladesh, and you can share those with the world.
Okay. Thank you. So, Brent, do you have?
Yeah, as we all agree, I think the events of the past weeks have put Bangladesh on the map in the news on a worldwide scale. And what I said before, one of the most amazing things I experienced in Bangladesh was the Dhaka Art Summit, which takes place every 3 years, and it's an institution for people if they don't know, and you know, that attracts people from the Museum of Modern Art in New York, from the Centre Pompidou in Paris, and it's an event, I mean, that is second to none. So I'd encourage everyone to communicate this to you know, friends in Europe, and to visit this beautiful country, and you know, the experience you will have with the friendliness and the food will make you come back very soon again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bent. Thank you, Asha. We are just running out of time, so we have to finish it right now. So thank you so much, Asha, Bent, Spania, and Dan Pasha for joining us. Thank you for your valuable time with Jamuna Television. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, it was an insightful and interesting discussion indeed. So stay tuned with us, and we have lots of discussion like this. So we'll in future.